What's up, freaks and geeks? Welcome back. Let's talk today again about John Kent playing Second Banana in his own book with Superman Son of Kal-El number 6. So, as you know, I've been covering this series since it first began, and it has been, well, I would say it's been a roller coaster, but it's just been kind of straight disappointment all the way through. You may be wondering to yourself, Dylan, why do you still read it? I guess I'm a masochist. I guess I just enjoy the punishment and I enjoy hating myself. I suppose that's what it is. I can't think of another explanation. I honestly can't. Maybe it's the alcohol that's right in front of me. I don't know. There are a lot of different factors that could possibly go into explaining why I subject myself to this. But let's just talk about what's actually going on here. So we start out here in Bloodhaven, where there's this group of Utes who are sitting around a fire, like, it's, I don't know, 1980s America or something. Like, I realize there are a lot of homeless kids out there and shit, but do they actually do this cliche bullshit of sitting around like a damn drum with a fire in it as they're like just in an alley? Is that a thing that happens somewhere? I wouldn't know because I've never seen it personally. Like, honestly, where I live, you'll never see something like this. So that's why I saw it. I was like, did they really go for this common ass trope? But anyway, these like shadowy figures come up and one of them has powers and puts them to sleep, and that allows them to basically abduct them, and then they throw them into this shipping container. Now, as we're going to find out later, apparently it's just the one shipping container that has these children in it. I don't know why they didn't, because if you look at the damn ship, there's a lot. Like, they could have put a bunch of kids on here if they wanted to, but apparently they just filled up one, as we will find out later. So we see they're put on a ship and then they're basically being kidnapped. So this is where we go over to Batman and Lois Lane, because if you remember, the whole thing that's going on here was that the when when John Kent took his new boyfriend Jay to go meet the grandparents and like have a dinner also with his parents, like they got attacked like literally about 2 minutes after Clark flew off into space. They had this what's her name, fault line, I think it was. She has this like gravity power, I guess. We don't really have much of an explanation on her. She shows up just to be used, literally just to be dropped like a bomb, and then she was gone again. So I think they're like testing her at Star Labs or something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, so we have Batman here and he's being basically chewed out by Lois Lane, and she's saying like, "What? How did this happen? Like, I thought y'all were watching the farm and everything." He's like, "We were. We knew what was going on, and we saw the plane come over, but it was just a little like single engine plane or something like that. It was a light plane, a crop duster, nothing that shouldn't be flying over Smallville. Justice League systems detected no weapons, but they weaponized a woman." So, like I said. Anyway, so he's saying, "Your home isn't safe. I'm sorry. We'll need to find you and the Kent shelter somewhere hidden." She's like, "All right, yeah, you know what? You go ahead and get them, like the grandparents, John and Jonathan and Martha, you get them into like safety. I'm going to try and track down answers because I'm not staying out of this. And neither is John." And that's where he asks, like, "Okay, where is John?" So this is where we go over, of course, to John, who is flying, and he's thinking to himself, "I've been to other planets, I've lived in the future, I've faced actual monsters and intergalactic despots, and this is about the most nervous I've ever been. But I'm Superman, I have to be prepared to face anything. I can do this." So apparently what he's nervous about is going back to get his cape back from the date rapist. I'm sorry, from his boyfriend. I call him that because, like I said, like I mentioned in my other video, the dude was asleep, and then all of a sudden, when he wakes up and he's still a little bit groggy, I'd imagine. I don't really know if that's how it works for superheroes, but we're just going to assume. All of a sudden, Jay just decides, "I'm gonna go ahead and kiss you now," and he just like full on. So, like I said, had that been a female, had that been Supergirl, everybody would have been calling the dude like a date rapist and all this type of shit. So that's what I'm gonna go with here. They call him his boyfriend. I beg to differ, but anyway. So this is where he comes back because, like I said, he basically left his cape with him. And was like, "Will you hold on to this for me?" That was literally the last issue. So now he's coming back to take his cape back. So he's saying, Jay is telling him or asking him, like, "How were you able to do that?" He's like, "What?" He said, "You can like move mountains and shit. How did you knock on the window without breaking it?" And he was like, "Very carefully." So anyway, he says, I looked after your cape. He's like, thanks, and thanks for earlier. I was out of control. I don't know what would have happened if I'd kept going. To which Jay says, I'm guessing a lot of screaming and running, followed by the inevitable pitchforks and people wanting to hunt the alien. Y'all live in Metropolis. Who the hell has pitchforks? The fuck? Anyway, so he's saying, well, John tells him, like, oh, I owe you a meal. He's like, why? He says, because I invited you to come to, like, my grandparents' house and have a meal with us, and instead, like, there was a damn basic bomb woman that was dropped on us and shit. So we didn't really get to have, like, that experience we were supposed to have. So Jay's just like, oh, yeah. And then he says, don't worry, I'm gonna go, like, get us food, and then you pick whichever rooftop in the city you want. So apparently he went and got them pizza, which I'm not gonna complain too much about that. You could show up, if you wanted to have a date night with me, and you just show up with pizza, totally fine. That works. Anyway, literally, god damn, I just had a moment of realization. My very first date with my boyfriend, we went to go get pizza. So like, damn it all. Anyway, so they're sitting there on top of, obviously, what else? The Daily Planet globe. And so Jay is asking, like, this is really good. Did you fly all the way to Italy to get it? He's like, no, New York. So he says, oh, that's still impressive. So they're sitting there talking, and then he's saying, you by yourself in that apartment, because as we've seen, Jay does basically live alone. So he's telling him, yeah, my mom, she didn't make it out of Gomorrah. And he's like, all right, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, do you want to tell me what happened or whatever? So, of course, he's going to tell him what happened. So this is where he kind of gives us the backstory on Henry Bendix, basically saying that he didn't buy his way into like the presidency. Basically, he says that he lied about a bunch of shit and then got people to trust him, which, I mean, I get it, but find me a politician anywhere in the world who doesn't lie to get votes, like if they have to rely on votes. Some of them don't really give a shit if, they can just be. Anyway, I'm not going to split hairs on it. But yeah, if you're look at any politician here in our country, they pretty much all lie. It's basically implicit in them. About 99 point, I'm going to say 8% to be generous. 99.8% of them do lie. There are like maybe some local politicians who don't really have to lie about very much because there's no point. But anywhere else, especially the higher up you go up the food chain, they all lie. So I don't know why he's saying that he told a lot of lies is somehow some sort of slight against him. That's every politician. Anyway, he says he wasn't one of us, but the people believed his lies, and they voted for him. It was the last election Gamora ever had. My mother, Sarah Nakamura, was president before him. So this is where we see they were basically like violently ripped apart and they just like dragged his mom away. And then I guess he managed to also get put into like this research program, whatever the hell. He says, I don't even know if she's alive. As soon as Bendix was in power, he changed the laws in our nation. He stripped our rights away. He turned our people into his workforce. He turned our country into a factory, and the product is superhumans. I was taken, experimented on. Bendix's scientists took me apart and put me back together, over and over, until I was barely there. But then there wasn't enough of me to hold. They couldn't keep me imprisoned anymore. I was able to fade away from Gamora, and this is where he's doing this whole thing with his hand. Which, I mean, we've learned he can turn himself intangible, but apparently he can also turn himself invisible. So, yeah, or semi-invisible, because I think you can still kind of see, like, I don't know what the hell that is. It's not his bones, but you see this, like, glowing effect in his hand. So, I mean, he's able to do that, and then they do this whole little cutesy shit where John puts his hand out and then they're holding hands. See, this right here would have led up to a kiss. That right there would have, had you done, this is what I'm saying. Tom Taylor did this ass backwards, because had you had this scene and then had them kiss, I would have been like, okay. See, they were, even if they hadn't talked about it, the fact that they did the whole hand holding thing and then they're just like looking admiringly into each other's eyes, okay, then you have a reason to kiss. Having him come over, fall asleep on your couch, and then telling him like you don't have to take care of me and going in for the kiss, no, bad writer, bad writer. This right here, this would have been okay, but you don't care what I have to say, Tom Taylor, so let's keep going. Anyway, so again, John tells him that, yes, they are going to take down, apparently, a duly elected president. I mean, you can definitely say that he's, a tyrant now, but he was duly elected. So, I mean, he went about it the right way, it seems like. He just started changing laws, which is always something to be aware of, just to keep it topical. Anyway, so this is where I'm saying, like, he even becomes, like, second banana in his own book, because now they go to Star Labs to try and get some more information about Bendix. It says we start by finding out who moved Fault Line from Star Labs. So apparently, even though this motherfucker down here in the corner, who should have, X-ray vision and who's probably well known enough at Star Labs to be able to just like get in and ask some questions and possibly try and find out what he can. Apparently, he decides, no, let's definitely do it your way, babe. We're gonna go ahead and let you sneak in this god awful outfit. I don't know. John Kent is not a friend or a boyfriend. You should never have let your mans out of the house looking like this. This is terrible. Anyway, so Jay is telling him, like, there's a reason I get the stories I do for the truth. Apparently he's good at B&Es. And he says, I'm pretty good at getting to information that's locked away, like I said. So he says, well, yeah, this is where he uses his damn X-ray vision to kind of see, like, okay, yeah, security's, like, not that bad. He says, east side of the building, 3 doors in from the right. So he's saying, like, all right, I'm going in, wish me luck. And then he tells him good luck, but they're kind of like holding hands a little bit. So I'm like, again, they just have to have them doing gay shit for no real particular reason. Anyway, so we see where apparently Jay is also able to like super jump and shit. As you can see, you see those arcs right there? Yeah, that's his jumping. How many powers does this kid have? All of a sudden he's able to do all kinds of shit? Like he's doing all of these like acrobatics and shit? Like where did that come from? You know what I mean? When you were being experimented on and they were taking you apart multiple times, were they also having you do gymnastics routines? Anyway, so he gets into the facility, of course, and then John is saying, like, I don't like people putting themselves in harm's way for me, so maybe you should have gone in and tried to do something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitballing here. So he says, that's my job. Apparently not. So we see where Jay is getting in. And then as he walks into like the security area, he sees that they're knocked out. Now, one thing I do have to point out here, because this is the first time you really get to kind of see it, what is up with this hair? Y'all see that little poof thing he has in the back? He has it in a tiny little ponytail. Why? What is the purpose? For one thing, his hair isn't that long. For another thing, I could understand if he was doing it to like keep his bangs out of his eyes, maybe. But he doesn't even have his bangs pulled back. His bangs are still out. So why do you have your hair tied up for literally no reason? Just to look cute? And why wouldn't you cover your hair? Are there that many pink-haired weirdos running around Metropolis that you thought, oh, well, you know what, this isn't a distinguishing mark. They would never know who I am based off of my hair color. There's just so much wrong here, and I love talking about it. Anyway, so we see where he's being snuck up on, but no, don't worry. He heard them coming, which is unfortunate because it's Damian Wayne who, has been trained as like a literal ninja. So I guess he just sucks now because in the past he's always been able to like sneak up on people, but this time he wasn't able to get the drop on Jay. I guess because he has some sort of spider sense or something too. But anyway, he tries to like attack him, and of course Jay turns intangible, so he passes through. He's like, "What the hell?" So he says, "Yeah, you can't hurt me." So he's just like, "Well, I'll find a way then." So that's where he finally says, like, okay, I'm not going to try to be the tough guy. He's like, no, I'm friends with John Kent. Let me just drop his full government name right here in front of who knows what type of audio surveillance systems. And then Damien says, I'm a friend of John Kent. He doesn't have any others. So Jay is just like, well, he does now. And then they hear the door opening, to which Damien's like, what? Because it's Lois. And she's like, Damien? So she comes in, and apparently they all had the idea to try and get in here and get answers. So isn't that just wacky? Anyway, so they're all standing there, and then when Jay tells her or calls her Miss Lay, she's like, do I know you? And then he takes down the silly ass mask, and he's like, I'm Jay. So Damien's there, and he's like, what is happening? And she says, you're both here for John, aren't you? That's very sweet. I guess John is like, not that far away. He's on another building right now. He can probably hear everything y'all are saying, quite honestly. Anyway, she says, I mean, it's breaking and entering, but it's still very sweet. And then that's where Damien's like, yeah, well, if y'all are here for like the video surveillance footage or whatever, I already have it on this thumb drive and shit. So they go back and they start basically comparing notes all together. So that's where they see this video of Fault Line with this U.S. senator who was also with a Gamoran ambassador to the U.S. And then he's also saying, well, Jay is also saying, like, I don't recognize the third man. Because basically the senator, I think, is the one in the white suit. And then the one in the black suit is the Gamoran ambassador. This tall, lanky, shadowed figure is obviously the guy from the beginning who has the sleep powers. And then this is just some nondescript guard. But anyway, We see where they're basically leading Fault Line out, and then Jay says this footage links the Gamoran government and a U.S. senator to the attack on the Kent farm and to the post-human projects. This could be the smoking gun, right? To which Lois says it could be. We need to find the ambassador though. And then we have this moment. Oh God, because I guess Damien's gay now too, because he does this whole stupid bullshit where he's. I don't think I've ever seen Damien smile other than on this page, and that's really more of a smirk. But this time he's like full on smiling. And even Jon is like, "Why are you smiling?" And he says, "Well, because Jon says what, and then he says what." So he's like, "Can you stop grinning? It's a little disconcerting coming from you." And then he says, "So Jay's the head of the truth? Impressive." And he's like, "Yeah." And then he does this shit where he's looking at Jon, and he says to him, "You know, I'm on my way to being the greatest detective in the world." Okay, Queen, calm down. "And I'm also your best friend and quite perceptive." So Jon's like, and he says, "And I'm really happy for you, man." Because I guess he figured out that Jon and Jay are fucking or something. I guess he put it together somehow. Like he said, he's on his way to becoming the world's greatest detective. So I guess he saw them look at each other some kind of way. Because we haven't seen them actually interact here. So we don't actually know what it is that he's picking up on. Anyway, so Jon just gives him one of these, and he's just like, "Oh shucks," and then he's just like, "Thanks." So that's when Lois and Jay come over, and Lois does the whole same thing, where she's like, "Robin, why are you grinning?" And he says, "No reason." She's like, "Well, it's a little disconcerting coming from you." So this is where Jay says, "I checked with the embassy. The Gamoran ambassador boarded a ship earlier this morning." Oh, that's good. That some random stranger can just call the embassy, and they'll tell him, "Oh yeah, we'll tell you exactly where the ambassador is." So Lois says, "Once we release this footage, he won't be back. We need him to answer for his crime, and we need him to talk." So, of course, Jon is like, "All right, well, what ship is it? Where is it heading?" So this is where they go to the ship that's been, like, doing the whole, like, human smuggling shit. So he shows up, and he says, "Mr. Ambassador, like, you committed a crime. You had a hand in trying to kill people I love, and you don't get to sail away from that." So as he's, like, floating there, he hears voices coming from the shipping container. So he's like, "What have they done?" And of course, he goes over to like wrench off the damn like door or doors. So he rips them off. He sees all the kids in there. He's like, "What the hell? Like these people are monsters and all this shit." So they recognize him as Superman, of course, and he's like, telling them like it's going to be okay. I've got you. But then he's immediately attacked by like a heat blast, and he's saying like, "Yeah, it's not that much of a like big deal to me, but it could have melted the container and everybody who was inside. So that's why I got to put a stop to this shit." And then he looks up and realizes, "Oh shit, it's a whole bunch of these motherfuckers with powers." And he's like, "Well, I got to finish this quickly." So he uses his super breath, pushes them off the boat, throws them a bunch of like the lifesaver things, and then the tall, lanky one with the sleep powers immediately tries to hit him with his powers and tells him to sleep. So we see where he's trying to like fight against it. He's saying something's wrong, going dark at the edges, don't know the range of his powers or how they work, can't engage, have to get clear. So he grabs the ambassador and then he says, "I also have to save the people." And this is where I was saying, apparently it was just one shipping container full of kids because it's the only one he takes. I get it, he only has two hands. But at the same time, I'm like, did you maybe use your x ray vision to check if there were any other? But anyway, so he's flying away with him. And we can see inside the shipping container that they're like standing up, even though it's at an angle where they probably shouldn't be able to. Quite honestly, they should be like in the back corner, just like all jumbled on and like tangled up in each other because they can't actually stand up. But whatever. So they fly away, and then he comes. I don't know if he just dropped them like that or if he gently put them. I hope he gently put them down because, again, it's full of kids. So, I mean, if you just drop that shit on a concrete sidewalk / the street, not really the best way because he just drops it there and then flies off into the sky with the ambassador telling him that the Kent farm was under Justice League protection. I hear Batman is pissed off. You made barely controlled anger in a bat suit even angrier. He's going to question you. He's going to get the answers he's after. But I have a question first. So this is where he flies him over to Jay, who's wearing this like silly ass mask that he wears whenever he does his old reporting and shit. So he flies up, and Jay even asks him like, "Shouldn't Batman be interrogating him right now?" To which Jon tells the ambassador like, "Okay, tell him what you told me about the president." So Jay thinks he's talking about Bendix, and he's like, "Oh, what terrible thing did he do now? Like, did he club a baby seal to death with an orphan puppy or some shit like that?" And then he says, "No, no, no. Tell him what you tell me." He says, "Not that president." So Jay's just like, "Huh?" And then he says, "President Nakamura, Sarah Nakamura, is alive." So of course Jay's just like, what? And then yeah, this is where we go back over to Bendix, and then the tall, lanky guy with the sleep powers is telling him like, oh yeah, the kids got away, Superman got away from me. He's like, well, how? And he says Superman was too strong. Like I used my power on him, and I know I hit him, but it wasn't enough to like take him down. So Bendix just basically says, it's okay, that's frustrating, but he won't be too powerful for much longer. None of them will. The Rising is about to begin, and then we see where he has this whole like lab full of all these like different experiments. So assuming all of these people have powers, as you can kind of tell from all of the various colors. Anyway, that's where this leaves off for right now. And it took so long for us to get to an actual story here. You know what I mean? Like they tried to build a, well, I can't even say they tried. There was there were a few moments here and there in the first 5 issues where they might have been hinting at something going on, but you could just tell the whole build up in those first issues was literally just to get to the kiss. Now that they've gotten past that, now Tom Taylor's like, all right, now I'll try to tell a story. It's like, that's too long. That's too fucking long for us to wait around for you to start telling the damn story. You know what I mean? And especially, like I said, when you did the whole romance shit, ass backwards, what am I supposed to look forward to here? I feel so sorry for all of the people who are looking to this shit as though it's some sort of inspiring gay romance in the modern era, because it's really not. If you found this inspiring as a gay person in any kind of way, find new heroes. Seriously. This is not the move, mama. This ain't it. This ain't it at all. This is not the move. This is not the look. This is not the way to go about it. But what can I say? Like I said, Tom Taylor doesn't give a shit what I have to say about it. So what does it really matter, you know? Anyway, there's nothing else I can really say about this. Like I said, I don't really review these comics, well, specifically these, to give any type of like constructive critiques, because A, Tom Taylor doesn't really care. B, it's already been written and printed. And C, I'm really just reading it just to, see how far down the rabbit hole it'll go. And on top of that, I'm not that upset about owning these comics, because if people really want to be stupid enough to say that this is such a momentous thing, such a monumental achievement in comic books, great. Drive up the price for me, baby. Because at some point, I'll sell off my whole goddamn collection for hundreds, maybe even thousands, if it actually has a prayer of ever getting to that point. I'll go ahead and sell. I got no problem paying $5 for something that might be worth 100 in a couple months. I got no problem with that at all. That's a nice return on investment. You know what I mean? So we'll see what ends up happening. Apparently people are like really big into this whole story. I have no idea why. I don't think that it's makes any sense. But I mean, we'll see what ends up happening from this. But I think I've rambled on enough about this particular issue. So if anybody, I'm not going to ask if anybody's even bothered to keep up with this storyline. I completely understand if you're not. Just if you have any thoughts, share them with me down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit the notification bell. That way you know when I have new content coming for you. If you want to share the video, well, I appreciate it. Much more than Tom Taylor appreciates anybody reading his book. And if you're done here, then go and read a book. Stay the hell away from that one, but go and read a book. And if not, then I'll see you on my next video.